this week's installment, this actor had a glimmer of talent and only became famous due to an executive decision. But his acting left people feeling like there was a fire down below, and his singing will leave your ears under siege. Don't eat food in front of him, he'll likely swoop in and steal it. It's Steven Seagal on Hollywood Swingers.
That professional introduction means it's time for our favourite segment of the show. Hollywood Swingers, where we celebrate those Hollywood movie stars who've made a swing into music. I think calling this man a movie star might be a slight stretch, but he's here nonetheless. Steven Seagal. Tell me about him, Paul.
Stephen Frederick Seagal. Born 10th of April 1952, it was a Thursday, in Lansing, Michigan, to Father Samuel, a maths teacher, and Mother Patricia, who was a medical technician.
Pat Seagal.
Yeah. Don't pat seagulls, that's my antidote. According to his mother, the young Seagal was a puny kid who suffered from asthma, but he got better after the family moved to California. And it was here that he went to school, but after this, there's some debate about what path his life took, especially as there are many stories from the likes of former students, stuntmen that worked with him, acquaintances, fellow actors, that say that Seagal is allegedly a bit of a pathological liar.
Allegedly.
Yeah. For instance, Seagal claims that he moved to Japan and studied the martial art of Aikido directly with its founder, even though the founder had died 5 years before Seagal had moved there.
Aye, but what you don't know is that I was studying with his ghost.
He did go there, though, having married a Japanese woman who says that Seagal had allegedly did it to avoid the draft for the Vietnam War. Whilst there, Seagal did train in Aikido, but again, according to his ex-wife, he only got his black belt as the judge, who was notoriously lazy, fell asleep during his final exam, so just gave him the black belt. Don't know who to believe, that's just what they said, allegedly.
Haters gonna hate, Stephen. Haters gonna hate.
Now, Seagal claimed during his time in Japan that he fought the Yakuza with the help of the American mob. Seems to be no evidence. And that he was also asked by the CIA to train operatives.
I mean, I fought the Yakuza, but it was in a PlayStation 1 game.
Yeah, and he was asked to do special favours for them himself. The CIA, of course, denied having any involvement with him
Well,
whatsoever.
they would, Paul. They're
That's
the CIA. They're the Central Intelligence people. They're going to lie.
Yeah, Seagal also claimed that a mystical dog befriended him.
Oh, I believe that
and then saved
fully.
his dojo from burning down.
I met a magic dog in Canada. It was a sausage dog. It was before I owned a sausage dog, and it controlled an old man who lived in a pirate ship.
Well, there you go. You and Seagal are getting on like a house on fire here.
Indeed.
Or a house not on fire, because the dog
Saved by a dog.
Seagal, seemingly leaving his family behind in Japan, moved back to the States, where he would open up his own Aikido dojo in Hollywood. And it seems like he did have some...
Like the guy in Napoleon Dynamite.
He did have some, Rex Kondo, he did have some success, or at least some involvement with clients who were successful. One story has it that Sean Connery enlisted Steven Seagal's help to show him some Aikido moves for his return as James Bond in 1983's Never Say Never Again.
I'm going to be in James Bond. Can you teach me some high kicks?
Well, as verified by Sir Sean himself in an interview on a late night television show, Seagal
I have met that guy.
ended up breaking the actor's wrist.
No!
Fortunately, though, one of the people who studied at Seagal's dojo was a big-time Hollywood super agent. And as the legendary story goes, said super agent supposedly made a bet with a pal that he was so powerful and successful, he could turn anybody into a movie star.
Hold on a swift second. Are you telling me that Steven Seagal is the Rick Astley? Rick?
Yeah, supposedly.
Of
the
movies.
Movie were, yeah, supposedly.
He's the T-boy that they went, I'm that powerful, I can turn him into
who
a
say
star.
that didn't happen or whatever, but when they've asked this super agent, he's basically just went, well,
I'm going to put you in a movie, kid. You can do high kicks
Pretty
and you got a
much.
ponytail? Wow.
The film they ended up making was 1987's Above the Law, which was known as Nico here in Europe.
But this is a time, right, where people are just weirdly obsessed with martial arts.
Oh, yeah.
In the most trivial way, where they don't understand it. they don't really fully understand the culture behind it. It's not like now where people go into these things and there's some form of respect and understanding. It's very like base level. Oh, look at my costume. Hiya.
Well, this was believed to be the first film that had ever featured Aikido. So a lot of flailing about just made people go, "Whoa, what's going on here?"
Okay.
And to what must have been everyone's surprise, the film wasn't a total flop. The super agent seemed to have been right.
I won my bet.
He won his bet. 1990 saw the now actor starring in both Hard to Kill and Marked for Death. I mean, I'm saying all this as if I'm being mockingly. I've watched all these films, and see at the time when they were coming out, I probably liked them.
I don't know if it's him. I've only seen the one where he's a chef.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
Those two films fairly successful at the box office, and then 1991, Steven Seagal starred in Out for Justice. But by this point, he'd already started to gain a reputation as someone who took liberties with multiple stuntmen, actually physically striking them during fight scenes.
Yeah, I've heard from other people he wasn't good at stagecraft. He was just hitting people.
Yeah. So one such stuntman was the legendary Gene LaBelle. He used to be also like a professional wrestler, and he was a top like judo practitioner.
I know who Gene LaBelle is.
He confronted the actor after Seagal claimed his Aikido skill meant he was impervious to any chokehold. Nobody can ever put me in a chokehold. I would literally escape with my Aikido skill. As the story goes, LaBelle allegedly took him up on the challenge, put a choke on him. Seagal was soon rendered unconscious, and then he pooped himself. Seagal denies this, but there are also many others who claim to have witnessed this happening.
The fact that this is even a workplace dispute.
Yep.
It's so Hollywood of, he's telling everybody that I pooped my pants and I didn't. Well, you did poop your pants. So many people saw it, Stephen. The fact that that's even a back and forth that we are discussing is wild.
The actor also guest hosted the comedy show Saturday Night Live at that time.
Oh, I've seen this episode.
It's went down in history as he's went down as the worst ever host.
Yeah.
The writers and even the series executive producer said that he was basically devoid of any humour.
Worse than Britney Spears, worse than Donald Trump, worse than Elon Musk. Like, he is their top worst
Wouldn't join
person.
in with anything, wouldn't do anything. When he was going in and doing fighting moves and that, he was actually physically hurting the people whilst he was doing it. And they basically said he's the worst, even
Allegedly.
to this date, the worst
Yes.
that's ever been on it. It didn't seem to hurt his movie career though, as 1992 saw the actor hit his peak. He starred in the highly successful Under Siege.
Is that what he's a chef in a boat?
Yep, it's essentially Die Hard on a boat.
Yep,
He's the chef is a seal. He plays Casey Ryback. Tommy Lee Jones and Gary Busey basically hijack the ship, and then he fights them.
And he's a chef.
And he's a chef.
I'm sorry, in Die Hard, is Bruce Willis a chef?
No,
Oh,
he's
okay.
a cop.
Right.
He then used his Hollywood clout to not only star in, but also to direct 1994's On Deadly Ground. A bit troubling film where he plays a firefighter who also happens to be ex-CIA, who also wants to save the environment from Michael Caine's Chew the Scenery baddie. There's a bit, I think, where he basically gets injured and he gets taken by Native Americans, and then he has like spirit visions of eagles. Basically, it was considered one of the worst films of 1994.
He loves picking bits from cultures without really full context and just being like, I'll take that,
Yep.
and then I'll take that.
I
It's
like
very
their
weird.
jackets.
It's
It's
like
essentially the vibe.
he's the human version of a fusion restaurant owned by white people.
Trying to bounce back, he starred in a sequel to Under Siege. It was Under Siege 2, Dark Territory.
Oh, no, you should have called it More Under Siege. More Siege.
Under Siege. And then starring in Executive Decision with Kurt Russell, which he only starred in because he went over budget and on Deadly Ground. So instead of like not taking the money off of him for his fee, they said, right, you have to be in this film and we're going to kill you off in like the first 40 minutes.
Okay.
Things started going downhill though. He had some stinkers like The Glimmer Man. That's a film where he kills someone with a credit card. Fire Down Below, not as it sounds, a film about ring sting. And Exit Wounds, where that was one of the first movies he made where he just started attaching himself to famous rappers at the time. So I think he made films with like Ja Rule and DMX.
I'm sorry. There's a film in this world featuring Ja Rule and Steven Seagal.
100%. Yes.
I need to see it.
Soon, though, the box office went right down and he was then consigned to a host of direct-to-video films.
Do you know what the kind of funny thing is, though? Is Ja Rule is kind of the picked on rapper of the rap world. Like, he's the kind of lame one they all make fun
and he's
of.
the picked on
And he's the
action
picked on
guy.
action.
Yep. Still fighting the good fight, though, to this day, or at least pretending to, as the actor can be seen doing many of his fights with either stand-ins taking place instead of him doing it. Lots of extreme close-ups where you don't really see anything that he's doing. Or in some instances, if you watch some of these films, he's seemingly just sitting in a chair.
Good for him.
It's just like, I'm not going to stand up for this.
Look, you know I'm all for sitting in chairs forever. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I might be getting him confused with somebody else. Did he get, like, deputised?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay, good.
Because all of this, the career going a wee bit downhill hasn't dented his opinion of himself, though. Here's some things that the actor has claimed over the years. He says that he trained multiple UFC champions and that he also invented the front kick. They basically said, no, he didn't.
I had this uncle called Uncle Jim who was a fantasist and also an addict, and he used to tell me things like he invented Brian Ferry's beret.
Yeah, him and Steven Seagal would probably get on.
And he used to do foil drawings of Steven Seagal,
Well,
so
there
he
you
would
go.
have loved it.
Steven Seagal claims that he is the world's foremost expert in swords, and he is sought after by auction houses for his knowledge.
He legit just sounds like your mad uncle. He's like, this is a samurai sword that I got over a guy on the internet and my accordion. It just sounds like your uncle.
He claimed he was Italian. It turns out he's not. He's like Irish, Russian, Jewish.
Of course he is.
And then he said that the mob were extorting him for money and that he had a contract out on his life. They went to court. Apparently that was all rubbish.
I'm sorry. Did the mob go, yeah, you can't say that. We're going to take you to court.
Yeah,
you can't
they
make up
actually-
lies.
The mob were so offended at his lies that they took him to court. He said one time he had a bulletproof kimono, right? And when he was going to the Academy Awards one year, he asked a tuxedo maker to leave room for 2 large guns that he was going to take with him in case they tried to rush the stage to get him.
Thank goodness he wasn't there the year Will Smith slapped Chris
Well, there
Rock.
you are.
He might have jumped the gun.
He says that he's the 17th reincarnation of a Tibetan holy man.
Oh, I believe that.
And then he claimed that he worked as a law enforcement officer for 2 decades. But what it turned out, there's no record of that.
Well, they wouldn't want people to know,
The
Paul.
real truth is that he was a reserve deputy sheriff. Essentially, they gave him a special badge in Louisiana. And they filmed 3 seasons of a reality show that was
Yes.
called Steven Seagal
Seagal.
Lawman.
Yes.
One of the busts. Now, remember, Steven Seagal claims that he's all about animal. He hates animal cruelty and he's against it. One of the busts saw them try to arrest someone that was suspected of running a cockfighting ring. So they had Steven Seagal drive a tank through the front of the house. In this whole scenario, he ran over a dog, and they ended up having to euthanize 115 chickens.
Can I just stop a minute? Imagine you're a low-level criminal, right? You're not a big gangster, you're not the mafia, you're not the mob, you're a low-level criminal. You're not, take cockfighting out of it, you're just like some guy who runs a chop shop, steals hubcaps or something, right? And you're sitting in your criminal enterprise and you're like, oh, it's been a good taking, we'll get all the money put aside, and then all of a sudden Steven Seagal
In a
just
tank.
stumbles in a tank like, hi, I'm a deputy.
And kills all the chickens that he's meant to save.
Runs there, your dog. You'd be like, you'd be sat in jail and people are like, what are you in for? I don't know, but Steven Seagal just broke in my house and ran over my dog. Like, is that allowed?
Ah, dear. But
Is
still,
but when you go to court, surely that can be, your lawyer can be like, yeah, you're going to have to throw this case out, Judge. Why? Because he was arrested not by a police officer, but by Steven Seagal in
by
a tank.
Steven Seagal in a tank
Who ran out his dog?
for a telly programme. Still, what does seem to be true, though, is, I mean, the guy's certainly a piece of work. If you do a cursory search on the internet now, he's not hanging about with many nice people. Been accused of some pretty unsavoury stuff. All in all, I think it's safe to say, maybe not a nice guy.
Killed a dog.
But we'll always have the fact that he once got a doing and then crapped his pants.
Do you know what? I feel like out of all of the celebrities that we've made fun of on this show, I feel like he's the one.
It.
Not only is he the one that here's the one that's going to find this and sue us. But like, how dare you?
We've said everything
Allegedly.
Now to tonight's song, and it seems that Seagal's supposed talents also extended to the world of music. In his mind, he claimed that he was trained by the likes of like B.B. King and stuff. But he'd released not one, but 2 albums. This song coming up is from his first LP, Songs from the Crystal Cave. Now, I would say go and find it and listen to it, not for the fact that it's good,
No.
but for the fact that there's lots of songs in there that I can't physically play on the radio because they're too strange, or he sings in accents that he shouldn't be singing in.
You have no idea how much of a problem this has been for Hollywood swingers. Is we'll find somebody who sings, but then it'll be like he sings, but he does everything in a pretend Mexican accent.
Mexican accent or a Jamaican accent. He says a lot of words that Ali G would say, strangely. So from Songs from the Crystal Cave, he's pleading with you that his singing isn't that bad, Ashley.
And remind them throughout this song, all the lyrics are in reference to himself.
Oh, I believe so, yeah. And if you listen to them, he's got some opinion of himself, that's for sure. But he's pleading with you specifically, Ashley, that his singing isn't that bad. In fact, girl, it's all right.
Tomorrow brings a word and make you feel something so real, like you could speak your own mind and whisper your wildest dreams. Well, girl, it's alright by me. Girl, it's alright. It's alright. Girl, it's alright. Right by me. Oh yeah. Once there was a king who lived in a foreign land. Lived in a foreign land. Had riches and gold, the envy of every man. Envy of every man. But he somehow missed out on what I have now. 'Cause if a dream in this world ain't all that I'll ever need, well, girl, it's alright by me. Girl, it's alright by me. This is the kind of thing one might see in a movie. This is the kind of thing that inspires one's greatest poetry. Out of a million chances, That's alright by me. Alright by me.
That was Steven Seagal with Girl, It's All Right. Here in the Ashley Storrie Show, we rank our Hollywood swingers on a scale of 1 to 100 Kenny Rogers roasters. Kenny Roger being the original and the best Hollywood swinger. Paul, I'm going to come to you first. How many Kenny Rogers roasters do you give Steven Seagal?
It's not great,
It's inoffensive though, Paul.
but it is inoffensive. It really is middle of the road, and
It reminds, it's like it could sit on a shelf with that guy who does Pointless. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like his kids, it's your dad's.
somebody's enjoying that.
Somebody is enjoying that. It
has to be a 50, doesn't it?
I'm going to give him 30 because I'm biased. But no.
Against them, but yeah, but it's one of these ones where
I think the lady in the background did a lot of the heavy lifting.
she did.
She was, the crispy puff pastry on top of a brown stew that made it into a beautiful pie.
But once there was a king who lived in a foreign land, he had riches and gold, the envy of every man.
Oh, Stephen. I'm still hung up on the bulletproof kimono. I can't. Like, how does it flow? How does it sit? How heavy is it? How long is the bulletproofness? Is it a short kimono?
real.
Is it a long kimono? I'm not getting away from
He
it.
once, apparently, the rumours is he sat in his trailer once and a big executive went in to speak to him. And as he walked in, he said, I walked in and here's this big Hollywood tough man weeping tears. And he's like, Stephen, are you okay? And he's like, I've just read the most moving screenplay that I've ever read in
And
my
that
life.
screenplay was Robin Williams' Toys.
No, I've read this most moving screenplay I've ever. And the executive went, "Oh right, who wrote it?" And without missing
Me.
a beat,
He said
just
me.
went, "I did."
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love that confidence. I'm going to do that. I'm going to pull that power move. I'm going to sit in this BBC. I'm going to cry and people are going to come up to me and go, Ashley, what's wrong? I'm going to say, I've just read the most amazing thing ever and I'm so moved. What is it? It's my fan fiction.
There are people in big places in here that I have seen doing that.
So scaffy.
Said they were so moved by something. We watched a clip and said, "Oh, I'm so moved by this. I can't believe every time I see it, it just brings me to tears." And then I found out that they had made it. It was their writing.
Oh no, that's so cringe. Right, okay. You're giving it 50. I think I'm going to give it 30. But it's up to you, listener. What do you think of Steven Seagal's performance? Maybe you liked it. Maybe you can look past. Maybe you enjoy that he's a weird character who makes stuff up, allegedly, and does some nonsense. Maybe that's your cup of
See,
tea.
if you're into these types of movies, there was a period when he first came out that you'll have watched these and not hated them. Like, Under Siege isn't a rubbish movie.
He's a cultural touchstone. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Is he in that film that has all of them?
No, he never did.
Did he get
it.
left out?
He got left out. And
The
then
Expendables.
I believe Jean-Claude Van Damme, who was in the second one,
He's my favourite.
said, "Oh yeah, I think Steven Seagal should definitely be in it, but he would need to lose some weight." But I'm sure he's a really nice guy.
Jean-Claude, don't fat shame people. You're sounding like Cliff Richard and what he's picture taking Elvis. That's bad. I like Jean-Claude Van Damme. He's my favourite of those.
Yeah.
I like Kickboxer. Is that the film where he dances to the jukebox? That's my
Yes.
favourite one.
Oh, don't! I would love to play that song.
Don't. Right,
Can we play
okay.
it for a Christmas present?
We'll play it for a Christmas present in a bit. We've got messages in. We've got scores in. Bograt says, a big keek after all that, eh? The notes, did he use a rubber band for those? 5 out of 100 Kenny Roger roasters from the Bograt. Hi AMP, that was the funniest intro yet. I feel as if I want to fry this roaster, but to my chagrin, he's not so bad. 45 Kenny Rogers roasters from Jane Jones. I think that's the vibe of it, is we wanted it to be worse than it was, but it just wasn't so
To
bad.
be fair, in our defence, there were songs that we really could have roasted him for.
Yeah.
But I can't play them on the radio.
Yeah, you
Go
can't.
look out this album. It is,
Steven Seagal's Crystal Palace.
yeah, the Crystal Cave.
Crystal Cave. Crystal Palace. That's a football team.
Steven Seagal and the Crystal Maze.
Could you imagine if Steven Seagal became the manager of Crystal Palace? Now that's what I want, because they've had funny managers in the past, so I feel like he could be.
Yeah, he could do it.
He could do that job. Oh, petition Steven Seagal to become an English football manager, or to play one in a film.
Yes.
Let's write that script. Let's write
And
that
he can
script.
sit down all he wants.
He can sit down the entire time. It'll be like Ted Lasso meets Under Siege. He's a football manager who used to be in the CIA. Oh, I've got so many ideas. Okay, let's have a palate cleanser.
No, wait a minute, because we've now got to the point where we've spoken so much that... Yeah, no, keep talking.
So I'll get back to scores then. Let me open them up. I've got a wee problem because I've got a cut right on my pointing finger that I use for my iPad. I keep re-injuring myself every time I go to read your messages. Okay. Negative 45 Kenny Rogers roasters for the MMA vertion of Rebecca Black. Ooh. Steven Seagal, he is horrid. There is no name on this. I don't know who it's from, but I really love the deep cut Rebecca Black reference. She was the little girl who sang Friday, Friday.
It's Friday.
Got to get out of Friday. I want to hear your scores, guys. Evening, folks. Snakebite in. I'll give you Steven Seagal a 10 Kenny Rogers roasters. Kind of forgettable, really. Have you done one for Kiefer Sutherland yet?
Yes, we have.
He put out something in recent years, but I don't know what it's called. We definitely have done our Kiefer Sutherland.
We spoke about his rodeo riding. He was a champion rodeo.
AKA
man.
Son of a Donald. Great. Was he good? I feel like he was musically leaning. I feel like he had...
I think he was middle of the road again.
Middle of the road. Steven Seagal definitely winging it there. That song tanked. Not quite sure what we were expecting, but couldn't make head nor tail of those lyrics. It's 0 Kenny Rogers roasters from us for the first time ever, as he sounds like such a horrible numpty. Craig and Rutherglen. That's Sharon and Craig and Rutherglen. Oh, thank you so much for getting in touch. You can get in touch with us with your score via text 80295, or you can email us. What's the email, Paul?
It's ashleystoryShow@bbc.co.uk.
Or you can WhatsApp us. What's the WhatsApp?
It's 08085 92 95 00.
Kate and Sunny Oban says, was expecting that to be absolutely pants because he sounds like a bit of a nut job. I actually thought it was okay. 85 Kenny Rogers roasters from me. It's Christmas, guys. It is Christmas. Right. Am I playing the last song before we go to the news?
We are indeed.
And is it the song that is there at the end?
Yes.
Okay. It is coming up for 12 o'clock and there will be the midnight news. It's coming up for 12 o'clock and there will be the midnight news. But before then, here's the Cranberries with Dreams.